Welcome to the Flip Your Script podcast. I'm Christy Peel. Today, we're joined by social media superstar Isabel Klee. She's a writer, content creator, and animal rescue advocate. She started using social media for good by simply and authentically sharing her journey fostering and rehabilitating rescue dogs. Fast forward to today, her new book, I have it right here, has everyone talking, and hot off the press is going to be a TV show. And all that started with a woman in a city she adores with a love of dogs and social media. Isabel, welcome to the podcast.
That was such a good intro. I kind of have chills just hearing it.
Well, this is all kind of fresh for you, so it must still feel like we're talking about someone else.
It absolutely, the TV news just got announced yesterday, so it truly has not hit me yet. It's all brand new to me.
Because at some point, if everything works as it's supposed to, you will walk into a studio with someone playing you,
Yep,
and that's going to be weird.
it's gonna be weird. I am such a TV fan. Like I watch TV all the time. Anytime like a cool new show comes out, I watch it. And so just the fact that like this will be a show that people are watching and binging is so crazy.
And that's where we are today. More to come, certainly, in your career and your storytelling and all of that. But let's back up. So,
Yes.
all the way back to the beginning, because on this podcast, we talk about how social media can help others and transform lives. And you are the poster child of that happening. And it never started with, I'm going to do this post so that I can have a TV show, which that's
No.
the mistake a lot of people make. You started it because of a passion you had. So, tell us about when you first started social media and specifically Simon Sits, which is your TikTok channel.
Yes. So I originally started my page as many people start their pages just because I had a dog and I had like a million cute photos of him. And I was like, I have nowhere else to post this, so I need to post it somewhere. So for many years, it was just cute photos of my dog. It wasn't much, really. I actually fostered before Simon. So Simon was my fifth foster dog. So I fostered far before I ever posted it on social media. I ended up adopting Simon, and then for years I stopped fostering because I was single and Simon is very medically complex, so he took up a lot of my time and energy. And then when I moved in with my now fiance, it was the first time in all my many years of living in New York City that we had a backyard. And I turned to him and said, I think we should try fostering again. It's like we have this backyard. I have a partner now to help me kind of like carry the load and help me with Simon. And so that very first foster dog after my hiatus was named Ken. And he was the first dog that I really shared on social media. And that honestly, it was the first dog that I shared, the first fostering journey that I shared that took off. And people were like so invested in him and so invested in his story. And I was so shocked by the response that I got because I never quite used my social media for much of anything before other than just like sharing cute photos of Simon. And I was really surprised to see how interested everybody was in the process. I think a lot of people had a lot of questions about fostering and how it worked and the behind the scenes of it all. And I just kind of documented every step of the way from like getting matched with the dog to picking him up from the transport van, his first bath, like introducing him to Simon, all of these steps up until him getting adopted. And that was the first moment that I was like, oh, there's something here. Like there's something that people are really tapping into.
What year was that?
That was only 2.5 years ago.
Wild. That is
Yeah,
wild.
so
S-
crazy.
So, if I would have interviewed you the night before you posted the very first piece of content about Ken and about that process, and I would have said, Hey, Isabel, what are your hopes and dreams for this? What would you have said?
At the time, I was freelance content creation. So for 7 years, I worked for a dog photographer and I was creating their content and kind of editing their videos. And so I had been working in social media for a long time for someone else. And I never really thought that I could be my own, be the star. I was always behind the scenes and behind the camera. I think my job or my dream was to just make enough to get by. And I was kind of using my social media to like pitch to brands to be like, hey, I could run your social media. Like if you want to hire me, like I was still kind of behind the scenes and just to prove that I knew what I was doing. But never in a million years did I think that I could make this my own personal brand and my own personal career. And that was obviously not my goal when I was documenting my fostering journey because I had been doing it far before I ever shared it on social media. So it was just kind of like this crapshoot and has snowballed into this like dream job for me. I mean, I can't even believe that this is my job at this point.
And even watching your content, you have that look of someone who just is so excited about what they're doing. And
Yeah.
no matter what your job is, you should maybe not look as excited as Isabel does because she's having
Yeah.
a moment, but you should at least wake up with a smile, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was just talking to Rachel, who's the founder of Muddy Paws Rescue, who I primarily work with. And I forget what she said to me, but she was like, "You're so funny. Like, you're so excited about everything." And I'm like, "I am. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just like I obviously there are hard days and there are hard things that happen in life, but like I just am so that's just my personality. I'm just so excited about most things in life, but also just so grateful and feel so lucky every single day that I get to do what I love and something that I'm like so incredibly passionate about. And I think that probably translates through my videos of just like how happy I am and how excited I am to do it.
And you brought up something there that I wanted to highlight, which is about being authentic. Your social media is authentic. Yes, there's strategy. Yes, there's an intentionality. You have a focus. You're not just, talking about anything. You know what you're talking about. But there's a part in the book, and the book we haven't said the name yet, but it's called Dogs, Boys, and Other Things. And this episode will be released on the day the book comes out. But there's a part I want to read because I think it highlights not just your philosophy about dogs and you put this out there, but just life. And I think it's so important for social media. So this is what you write. That's the funny thing about animal rescue. You hear gallant rescue tales, 500 beagles saved from a testing lab, a drowning dog pulled from a rushing river, dogs taken in that were used in dog fighting. But you rarely do you hear about the after, the days and weeks and months after the hero comes in to save a life, the nights that stretch on, a poor dog's wail piercing through the thin, dark air, the moments of defeat, of distrust, and the moments that just straight up suck. Cleaning diarrhea off your new carpet, cleaning pee from your light gray car seats, cleaning, cleaning, and more cleaning. That anyone who has a pet knows
Yeah.
that that's what it's like. And most people who rip on social media and have issues with it, it's either because of all the strangers hating on each other or it's because it's so fake. And you have plenty of videos out there of Simon's medical situations and the pee and the cleaning and all of that. But that was a choice you made. Why did you decide to be so authentic and real? Because to be honest, talking about dog rescue is actually better if you leave all that stuff out.
Yeah. It's interesting because you're right, it is a philosophy that I apply to everything in life, but I feel like with dog content, it's usually like, and with all content, but specifically dog content, it's like these highlight reels of like, oh my God, check out this video of, this dog being saved from the Central Park lake, or, that one just went viral recently, or like these kind of like really sad sob stories. But rarely on social media do people really talk about the mundane things that happen. And it honestly wasn't that much of a conscious effort. It was just kind of like I was just sharing like what was happening and noticing that people responded to it. And I think through my social media, I realized how much people were just looking for things to connect to. And it didn't have to be like these crazy stories of these insane, like, hoarding case raids or anything like that. It could be these quiet moments that we all experience every day and kind of stepping out of yourself and realizing how much beauty there is in those moments. And, Tiki was my most viral foster and he kind of took the world by storm. And so many people have asked me why I think people loved Tiki's story so much. And I think it's because people identified with him. Like, here's this dog who came from so much trauma and went through so much. And us as humans, everybody has gone through some sort of hardship in their life. And his bravery and his rehabilitation was not big and it wasn't profound. It was like in these tiny little moments that you would have missed if you weren't looking hard enough. Like it was him stepping out of his crate for the first time, him eating his food for the first time, him like looking up at the sun for the first time in his life. Like all of these tiny little moments that if you're really not slowing down, you're really not present, you would have missed them completely. And I think in sharing Tiki's story, people realize that like healing and rehabilitation doesn't have to be like this big monumental occasion. It can be so small, and those moments are worth celebrating too. And I think that is kind of how I live my life on social media, is like highlighting the big and the small and everything in between.
So interesting. I guess I'd never thought about it before, but the big stories that capture the headline one time are sort of that one hit wonder. You get
Hmm.
lots of eyeballs, but it's sort of one time and then people move on.
Right.
And a really solid, whether you're an executive or whether you're a content creator about dogs, whatever it is, whatever your content focuses on, it's the everyday, the discipline of putting out what's happening without some grandiose expectation. Here's the authentic reality and then seeing what happens, which is kind of opposite how most people think about social media.
Yeah, my favorite thing is when I get a new foster, and a lot of the comments that I get are like, "Oh, it's season 36 of my favorite show," because people think of each foster as like a new season, and everything that I post is kind of like episodic because you're like tuning in to like, what's this dog doing today? And it's never anything crazy. It's like, oh my God, Marmy like played with a toy today. But people care so much. And I think it just speaks to us as humans. Like we want those little moments of connection, and we want to keep up with something, and we want something to root for. And it's like really quite simple. And I think a lot of people try to hack social media of being like, what's your hook? How are you getting people to pay attention? How are you getting people to stop scrolling? And I think if that is your mission, you probably won't go the distance. Like maybe you'll get a viral hit, but you won't get people like tuning in every single day to see what you're up to.
It's so, so true. And I hope people take that away from your story. The other thing about dogs is in this land where everyone is divided and hateful and all the things happening in the world, yes, you can hate on a dog because you love a cat, but it's hard to like just in general
Yeah.
not be cheering, rooting for, like you said, these pets who have had a really hard time. So it is something that can build connection and bring people together without a lot of controversy, which is so
Yeah.
rare.
I always say that dogs are the greatest connector, because it doesn't matter your race, your age, where you live. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Dogs will love you, and you will probably love dogs. And so I love that my content can be a connector. And I love that it kind of also makes people pay attention. And I have used dogs as a subject to talk about other issues happening in the world because it makes people tune in. I always say, and this is not a good thing necessarily, but it's true that a lot of people care more about dogs than they do about people. So if you want to talk about people in a larger sense, talk about dogs, and they'll be like, "All right, I'm listening. Like, what do you have to say?" So I do think it's also a tool to connect to people and say like, "Hey, if you care about this, like, why don't we talk about this too?" And kind of using my platform to help educate people gently. I don't like to like push anything on people, but I do like to hopefully inform.
It's so funny that you just said that people care about dogs, more than people. I was a news reporter for 12 years before starting the company and the
Yeah.
things that I do now. And I covered many, many stories of terrible children trauma and
Yep.
children getting killed, awful things. And then I remember one time so specifically, there was this awful story of a dog being abused and someone killing it. And we did a story with the children and they were just like weeping. Their dog died and the cops were trying to find the dog killer. The amount of gifts that were sent to me to
Hmm.
give to the family of the people who lost the dogs was I mean, my desk was overflowing with all of these. We had to make a special trip to go to this family to give them things, and someone donated a dog. And I remember driving with my photographer to pick up this puppy to bring it to this family, and it was all lovely and it's wonderful, and I don't mean to take away from that, but your point is well taken, that
Yes.
there is something about pets and dogs specifically that we can just cheer for because it's terrible, but it's not quite as terrible as the trauma that people endure.
Absolutely. And people are shocked when I say this that I like value a human life more than a dog's life. Like that just goes without saying. But some people are shocked by that. They're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, that should not be controversial, but yeah, it's like you hear anytime a natural disaster happens, like the Texas floods, everyone's like, "Well, what about the animals?" It's like, "Well, what about like people were donating more to the animal causes than the human causes or everything going on with ICE and the dogs that are abandoned and like people are so upset about it, as am I. But that those are moments that I like to take, okay, we're upset about this and now let's like zoom out and look at the bigger picture because it does get people on the hook, which is good. Like you have to identify like what pulls at people's heartstrings and what really gets people to care and pay attention and donate and educate themselves. So I don't think it's like a total negative, but I do think people need to like sometimes check themselves and be like, what am I putting my effort towards right now? I think it's all a systematic issue and I think it's all working together, but yeah, I think a lot of people definitely tune into the dog stories more than the human stories.
It's just, they can't talk back, right? Like
Right,
they're
exactly.
at
They
no.
are innocent creatures, which I understand, and like that aspect of it I get. People are like they're so innocent they can't speak for themselves. Like we have to advocate for them. So I get that part of it.
So let's talk about the book because we haven't fully talked about the book. So I'm going to say the name again: Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About. This is very raw and not just about pets, but also the pets are sort of a metaphor for your life and finding love and acceptance. And how did you get to the point where you were ready to put all of that on display?
I have always been a very open person and kind of a hopeless romantic, like wearing my heart on my sleeve. I honestly, it wasn't that big of a decision for me. I had a Substack for a while and I would write personal essays and I really like sharing those aspects of myself and I've never shied away from it and I've never felt embarrassed by it, maybe to my own detriment. Like I have always shared these very personal stories of love and loss and heartbreak. And it wasn't until my literary agent, Jessica, reached out to me about 2 years ago exactly. She had been following me for a while, and a lot of people don't realize this, but I actually got my book deal before I ever like blew up. So I got my book deal before Tiki's, before like any of that stuff happened. She just happened to follow me and saw my content and saw my writing. And she cold emailed me and said, "Have you ever considered writing a book?" And so she and I got coffee and I talked about like the things I usually write about, which are relationships and love. And we kind of came up with this concept together of like how to mirror the two because I've always said I think a relationship between a person and an animal is so similar to a romantic relationship and that it takes time and trust and energy and like you just pour so much into it. And through writing the proposal, I was actually shocked by how many parallels I had in my life and in my foster dogs. So it kind of just came together really naturally. But as far as sharing personal information, I there was never like a question about whether I wanted to do it. I will see like once it's out into the world and everybody's read it, like if there's any real backlash, but I honestly feel good about it. And even, the lawyer read it. When you write a memoir, you have to do a legal read. And even the lawyer was like, "You were pretty nice about your ex-boyfriends." I was like, "Thank you." Like he's like I could have really gone in, but I feel like I kept it honest but kind. So yeah, I feel good about it.
And that's the thing about sharing stories that you're at peace with and comfortable with. And I think it's the thing that keeps people from sharing their stories that they haven't quite yet made peace with it themselves. And until you can be really comfortable with all of your decisions and know that there's a filter when you share it. I mean, there are things you don't want your future mother-in-law to read, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, right? So, you have to like think about that, but still it's out there and it's raw and it's real and it will help other people, which is such a parallel to what you're doing with your social media, which is you're helping people because you're helping dogs.
Yeah, and I will say that like of course writing a memoir you have to consider the people that are still actively in your life. Like I did not go full in on like my not that there's much to say, but like my family or like these people that are really close to me. I was very open and vulnerable about my relationship with my now fiance, which turned out happy, which is probably like a reason why I felt comfortable sharing it. But the more negative or darker or like stories of heartbreak are with people that are no longer in my life. So I think that made it easier as well. Like if I were writing about a memoir about my relationship with my mom, it probably would be much harder because I would have to navigate her real life feelings and still continuing a relationship with her. So I do think that made it easier that like the stickier parts of this memoir are with people that are no longer in my life and everything has been changed. So like all the names have been changed and all the identifying details have been changed. So it was easier for me to just be like open and vulnerable, knowing that those people, I wouldn't have to like have a conversation with those. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll reach out, but hopefully not. So yeah, I think it was easier for me because of that.
Will the success that the book is having and where, well, it's not out yet, but it's already having success, the book and the TV show and the things that are happening, will that change how you use social media or is it just affirmed to keep doing more of the same?
That's a great question. I guess we'll see. I don't plan to change or like I don't plan to stop fostering. I'm actually moving into I live in kind of like a studio one bedroom right now, but I'm planning on moving to a two-bedroom apartment. And I told my fiance the very first thing I want to do is foster like a mom dog that just gave birth with her whelping puppies because we've never had a separate space to do it. So now we'll have an extra bedroom. Um, I'm definitely planning on continuing to foster and continuing to share on social media. I'm sure it'll change in some aspects with making the TV show and all these things that like might not have me present at home as much, but I will always foster. Like I think for the rest of my life, I'm completely addicted to it. I always say like as far as addictions go, this is a pretty good one. I don't have my foster just got adopted 2 days ago, and I probably won't have one through, the next month or two because of the book tour. And I'm already like itching for one. Like it's just this hole in my heart anytime they get adopted. So I think that will continue on no matter what.
Oh, it's great. And look, there's
Oh
Simon.
yeah, he's
Oh,
jumping off
look,
the bed.
there's Simon. Well, as far as the TV show, how long, when will we see it? Like, what's because it's way longer than people think.
Yeah, it's the very beginning. So we just signed a couple of weeks ago. We're in the process of finding writers and all of that stuff. So it is very early stages, but UCP is like on it. Like they're so excited about it and it's already in motion. So I've never made a TV show before, so I don't really know how long it could take, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
Oh, it's exciting. Well, it's going to be really fun to continue to watch social media and to see the joy that you have because I think no matter what happens in your life, you're going to continue to sort of radiate, which is so awesome. Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials as well.
Thank you.
And when you think about social media and you could describe it in one word, how would you describe it?
Ooh, all of social media or my social media?
All of social media, the whole world of social media.
Complicated.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one. I
I
like
think
to
there's so much good that comes out of it, and I think I experience a lot of the good, but I also know how terrible it can be for a lot of people and a lot of stories and news and everything under the sun. So I think it's very complicated. I think it's a lot of good and a lot of bad, and I like to exist in the gray area, so I think that's a good reflection of like what I do. Is just it's complicated.
It is complicated. And we all have choice. If you hate your
Yeah,
algorithm, odds are you're
true.
making some choices that are putting bad stuff in your feed. So change your feed, change your life.
Yeah, and follow more dogs.
Follow more dogs. And we love cats. Follow the cats too.
Yeah, I do love cats too. But I feel like there are more dogs on social media, but I follow a lot of good cats as well. And like other animals, like I follow a big tortoise and foxes, like follow any animals is my advice.
And follow the real ones because the AI animals,
Oh yeah. No, we're
no,
over that.
we're over that. It had a moment, which is all it deserved, a moment. Okay, buy the book, Dogs, Boys, and Other Things I've Cried About. Pay attention to Isabel's social media. Good stuff are happening. Get yourself a foster dog or support a shelter. Thank you so much, Isabel.
Thank you so much for having me.